Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The discussion revolves around Imam al-Hasan al-Zaki al-Mushtaba, the son of Rasulullah, the son of Ali and Fatima. We talked about how the Imams have always stressed their link. They've emphasized their unbreakable bond with their grandfather Rasulullah, and how the enemy always tried to whitewash the link they had with the Messenger of God by refusing to allow people to speak of that bond, by paying people, as Muawiyah did, in order to hide any narrations which would highlight the link between Imam al-Hasan and the Messenger of God, which was a tactic employed by Muawiyah quite extensively. A lot of narrations were completely concocted and made up from thin air in reference to certain personalities who stood opposite the Ahlulbayt, whether it be in ideology or in battle. And Muawiyah would often make those exorbitant payments to individuals who were known as narrators of hadith or who had met the Prophet once or twice. And he would employ that as a tool for propaganda, for bolstering his position, for making up narrations about himself or his family, if you like, and hiding traditions and quotes of the Holy Prophet which spoke of the merits of his family and of his blessed lineage. And so they tried that, but of course, conversely, Allah says in the Quran, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. They attempt to blow out, to extinguish the light of God with their mouths, with their speech, but God refuses to allow that to happen. And so, while they've tried to hide the merits of the Ahlul Bayt, we can see that in reality today, no one even dares proclaim any enmity to the Ahlul Bayt. In fact, they all claim to love the household of the Prophet. Many of them, of course, are lying about that. But the point is that when you have someone like Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi saying that I'm a descendant of Rasulullah, he says he's a descendant of Imam al-Ridha, going all the way back to the Prophet of Islam, we know that's a lie because Saddam made the same claim, because Gaddafi made the same claim, because, the kings and monarchs and presidents of many different Muslim countries always make the same claim, because the idea here is that we don't hate the household of the Prophet. We, in fact, love them. And the reason for that is because God refuses to let them extinguish the light of guidance. God refuses to let the Umayyads and the Abbasids take over despite their unrelenting efforts to do so. Now, speaking of the link and the bond between Imam al-Hasan and the Holy Prophet of God, I want to mention a couple of beautiful incidents here. The first relates to Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. So Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, as you know, lived in the time of the tyrant king, the evil, despotic tyrant known as Harun al-Rashid, who subsequently imprisoned Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam and poisoned him to death while he was in incarceration. There's an incident that historians have told where when Harun al-Rashid comes to Medina, I believe he was on a pilgrimage to Hajj, and so he comes to Medina, and along with Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, they go to the shrine of the Holy Prophet of God. And in a manner that came across as boastful and ostentatious, Harun al-Rashid looks to the direction of the grave and shrine of the Holy Prophet, and he says to him, Assalamu alayka ya ibn am, meaning peace be upon you, O my dear cousin. The reason for that is because Harun was from the Abbasid dynasty. And the Abbasid dynasty traces his lineage back to Abbas, the Prophet's uncle. And so what Harun is trying to do here is to win the hearts and minds of the naive public by saying, I am your king, but don't forget that I'm also the cousin of the Prophet. I am the closest person, in fact, to the Prophet. So he says that, everyone's watching. And so Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam here proceeds forward, looks in the direction of the Prophet's shrine, and he says, Assalamu alayka ya Abah. Peace be upon you, O my father. Meaning that you can be the Prophet's cousin, but I am the Prophet's descendant. I am, in fact, his son. And I mentioned earlier in the previous episode how the Imams stress this point, lest people forget that they are in fact the Prophet's descendants, that they are in fact the Prophet's sons and daughters, and have other people take advantage of whatever proximity they have, whatever relationship and kinship they have to the Prophet in order to enrich themselves or in order to take up positions of authority. If somebody tries to do that, let's not forget that we are in fact the Prophet's children. I'll mention another interesting incident. There was a man by the name of Yahya ibn Ya'mur, and he was a companion of Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Imam al-Sajjad. Historians tell us that he was brought in from Balkh. Balkh was a province of modern-day Afghanistan, and this man was a loyal supporter of the Ahlulbayt, and so he was brought in by Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, this tyrannical governor of the Umayyad dynasty. So he was brought in to be executed, essentially. But initially, Hajjaj would engage with his prisoners, even the ones who were sentenced to death. He would get into a bit of a verbal confrontation with them, interrogate them, if you like. And so as part of his discussion, as part of his interrogation, he told him, why is it that you, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, always stress that the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt are the descendants of Rasulullah, they are the children of Rasulullah, when we all know that they were the children of his daughter? And as I said, Arabs did not consider the children of the daughter to be children of the individual himself. They thought of them as being descendants of another family, right? They trace their lineage back to their father as opposed to their mother, and therefore maternal grandfathers could lay no claim to their ancestry, right? So he said, Hajjaj said to Yahya ibn Ya'mur, he said to him, why do you always say this? When in fact, that's not the case. They were descendants of Fatima, and Fatima was the daughter. So he responded with this verse from the Holy Quran. Yahya responded with this verse from the Holy Quran in Surah Al-An'am, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 84. He said, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim's firstborn was Ismail, biblical Ishmael. His second-born son was Ishaq, biblical Isaac, from whom the Jews are descended, right? So God speaks about Ibrahim in this verse, and he says, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. We gave him Ishaq and Yaqub, Isaac and Jacob. كُلًّا هَدَيْنَا. And we have guided both of them. وَنُوحًا هَدَيْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِ. And Nuh, whom we have also guided. وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِهِ. In other words, Ibrahim, we gave him Isaac and we gave him Yaqub. Jacob was the son of Isaac, right? Then God says, as for Noah, we also guided him and we gave him from his lineage Dawood, David, Sulaiman, Ayub, wa Yusuf, wa Musa, wa Harun. Dawood, wa Sulaiman, wa Ayub, wa Yusuf, wa Musa, wa Harun. All these prophets are descendants of Nuh. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And as such, we reward those who do good. Then God says, وَزَكَرِيَّا وَيَحْيَا وَعِيسَى وَإِلْيَاسَ. And we gave him Zakaria, Yahya, John the Baptist, wa Isa, Jesus, wa Ilyas, Elias, wa kullun min as-salihin. And each one was among those who were righteous. Here's a question. Jesus? Yahya ibn Ya'mur says to Hajjaj in the narration that I mentioned, he says to him, how did Jesus become a descendant of Nuh and Ibrahim? Jesus didn't have a father. Who was his mother? Mary. Mother was from that lineage. Mary was from that lineage. How was Jesus included in this list? The same way that Jesus was included in the list and is considered among the descendants of Ibrahim, the same way Imam al-Hasan is considered the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. You see, so this argument is made over and over again using scriptural references, using verses from the Quran, as well as other means to highlight the link between the Imams of the Ahlulbayt and their grandfather Rasulullah. I want to end with, perhaps if we have time, with a story that once again highlights this important fact. In the Battle of Jamal, when the army of Imam Ali faced off with the army of Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, a devastating war, one that paved the way and opened the floodgates to subsequent wars, subsequent battles, and endless bloodshed. Rivers of blood flowed as a result, directly as a result of this war, and indirectly as a result of all the other wars that happened subsequently to this. And I don't want to talk about this battle in general, but I want to draw your attention specifically to the ending of it, right? So at the very end of the battle, what happened was that Imam Ali called unto Aisha, who was sitting on the back of a camel, hence the name of the Battle of the Camel. Imam Ali called on to her. He said, enough bloodshed, enough killing, enough fighting, right? He then said to her, ارجعي وإلا تكلمت بكلام تبرين من الله ورسوله. Go back, end this, before I say something which will sever your link with the Prophet. Now we all know that she was the wife of the Prophet. So the Imam here is making a threat that I will say something which will bring an end to your relationship to the Prophet, who at that time had been deceased. He had been martyred. And so then Imam Ali said to his son Imam al-Hasan, he said to him, اذهب إلى فلانة فقل لها. Go to such and such, meaning Aisha, and tell her that the commander of the faithful says to you, by God, والذي فلق الحب وبرأ النسمة لئن لم ترحلي الساعة لأبعثن إليك بما تعلمين. I swear to God, in the name of the one who created the seeds, that if you do not go back, if you do not put an end to the bloodshed, I will say and I will proclaim something of which you are very well acquainted. You know what I'm going to say, so go back, right? Imam al-Hasan came to Aisha and he said things to her. People around her didn't know what was going on. He engaged with her verbally, very briefly, told her what his father had instructed him to say. As soon as he finished, she said to those around her, I want to go back. I'm done with this. So there was a woman who was one of her handmaids who said to Aisha, why would you go back? You had your own brother come and speak to you and you refused to give in. You had Ibn Abbas come and speak with you, who is considered one of the lofty men in the Hashemite clan, and you refused to heed his warnings. What happened such that this young man, Imam al-Hasan, came and spoke with you and all of a sudden you wish to go back? Aisha said, listen to me. You do not understand. First of all, هذا الغلام ابن رسول الله. This young man of whom you speak, this Imam al-Hasan meaning, this young man is the son of Rasulullah. And whoever wishes to look into the eyes of Rasulullah should look at this young man. Even Aisha recognizes that Imam al-Hasan was the son of Rasulullah. And so if you wish to see the eyes of Rasulullah, if you wish to see the iris of the Messenger of God, if you wish to see the pupil of God's apostle, look into the face and the pupil of Hassan ibn Ali. Then she said that I know that Rasulullah, my husband, my former husband, has given authority to Ali ibn Abi Talib to divorce his wives from him. And I know what Ali is talking about when he said that if you don't go back, if you don't put an end to the bloodshed, I will say something which will sever your link with the Prophet. He wants to divorce me from the Prophet. And once I'm divorced from the Prophet, I'm divorced from any claim to authority, any trace of respect. The only thing I have is the fact that I'm the wife of the Prophet. And if that's taken from me, I am left with nothing. People will no longer listen to me. The only way I've established my reign and I've forced people to join me in this battle is by telling them that I am Ummul Mu'mineen, that I am the mother of the believers, meaning the wife of the Prophet. Once that position is taken from me, once that title is taken from me, I have nothing. And so I could not bear look in the face of Imam al-Hasan, who reminded me of Rasulullah and reminded me of the fact that my divorce in fact lies in the hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Another really interesting point which I'll wrap up this session with, which is relevant to our discussion, is there was a point in the battle when, again in the battle of Jamal, when Imam Ali says to his son Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah to proceed and to charge into the battlefield. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah was the kind of person that historians say was so strong, was so powerful, that he would take a shield, right, and he would break it on his knee. He was a breaker of shields. And so his bravery, his strength was not in question. And yet, because of the onslaught of the enemy, because of the sheer number of fighters, of swords, of spears, of arrows, even he was reluctant to proceed. And so Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib then sent his son Imam al-Hasan. And because Aisha, as I said earlier, Aisha became reluctant about the whole battle, and she thought about going back, she thought about ending the battle, but her advisors and the people around her convinced her to stick to it and to continue the fight, because they told her that you will eventually win, right? So Aisha stood there and she refused to go back, right? And so the only way to end the battle was that Imam Ali then sent his son Imam al-Hasan to go kill the camel, because he didn't want to kill Aisha. After all, she was a woman. After all, she was someone who was, held claim to a title that connected her to Rasulullah. Imam Ali did not wish to physically harm Aisha in any way. And so instead, Imam al-Hasan went, killed the camel, and that ended the battle of Jamal. Then, and I'll remind you again, when Imam al-Hasan did this, Imam Ali then looked at his other son, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, Imam Hassan's brother. He looked at him, he said to him, Anta waladi, you are my son, and that's where you draw your strength and your courage from. Anta waladi, wa innahu ibn nabi. But don't forget that Hassan is the son of the messenger. Hassan is the son of Rasulullah. Brothers and sisters, this is why it's so important that when we address the family of Rasulullah, we address them as the children of Rasulullah. Even when you go to someone, say Fatima al-Ma'suma alayha salam in the holy city of Qum, when you address her like this: Assalamu alayki ya binta Rasulillah. Peace be upon you, O daughter of Rasulullah. When you address Imam al-Hussein, do the same. When you address Fatima al-Zahra, it goes without saying. When you address every member of the Ahlulbayt, including Imam al-Zaman, always say, Assalamu alayka yabna Rasulillah. Because by reminding yourself of the bond that they had with the Messenger of God, number one, you elevate their status. Number two, you honor their grandfather Rasulullah. Number three, you seek intercession with the Messenger of God. By honoring his children, you honor him. وَيُحْفَظُ الْمَرْءُ فِي وُلْدِهِ A man is honored, a person is honored by honoring his descendants, by honoring his children. Have you not noticed that when somebody wants to endear himself to you, or someone wants to, let's say for example, you go to work and you take your children and you go there and your boss has his family with him. And so one way of getting close to the boss is that you go to the children and you start, exchanging pleasantries, and you start saying nice things to the children, about the children. If you're going to honor the Prophet of God, we do so by honoring his children. And this is my message to you, my dear viewers around the world, and my message also to our Sunni brothers and sisters. If you're going to honor the Prophet of God, honor his children. And I don't mean honor in the sense that, oh, we love the Prophet's family, oh, we love his children. I'm talking about really, truly honoring them, about really, truly showing respect and devotion and love, in the sense that you would learn about them, follow their teachings, inshallah. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.